So maybe I should just tell you just briefly about Haridas Chaudhuri and his coming to the United States. As you can see, his picture up to the left here, he was the scholar of Indian yoga and philosophy and studied Sri Aurobindo's work in era where Sri Aurobindo was just about to become known in India. But he had some uh, following here by way of a professor at Stanford University. His name was Frederick Spiegelberg. He was a professor of Indic and Slavic studies, if you can imagine the two parallel, somewhat different fields. And from what I understand, in the 1940s, in the late 1940s, he taught some of Sri Aurobindo's philosophy and some of his books in his courses, and that's down at Stanford University here. And in late 1947 or early 1948, sometime in there, he traveled to India on a scholarship, and his idea was to research the living traditions of India. And through that process of meeting with several Indian yogis, he finally meets Sri Aurobindo. And when he comes back here, a couple of years later, in about 1949, 1950, he is asked to form a new university, or actually graduate school, to study the Asian traditions, primarily focusing on Asia. And he was very fascinated by this idea of Sri Aurobindo's vision and his yoga and his philosophy. And he was hoping to find someone with background in that. And he wrote, and they eventually recommended Dr. Chaudhuri. He came in 1951 to the United States. So what he first did was he was the faculty of this group of faculty, along with Alan Watts and Professor Spiegelberg, who started a forum for discussions, and as part of that graduate school, it was called the American Academy of Asian Studies. And it had a major impact on the life of the Bay Area, cultural life and spiritual life. Some of the early teachers, including people like Michael Murphy, some of the beatnik poets of the early San Francisco era, were people who attended some of these talks and were quite inspired by him. So he brings this idea of Sri Aurobindo's yoga and integral vision, integral philosophy, along with Alan Watts bringing in Buddhism, and the three of them had these conversations that were very fascinating.